I've been in church ever since I can remember. I've been really blessed with a great Christian family, good Christian friends, and a great youth group when we were in high school. Then I go off to college, and I'm at A&M, and I joined a Christian sorority, and I even became the worship leader. And then I turned 21, and everything changed from there. I just chose to start living that lifestyle of partying and sleeping with guys, lots of things I'm not proud of. So one night I'm driving home from a strip club, which is ridiculous. Next thing I know, I see the blue and red flashing lights behind me. Very luckily, he gets another call that I guess that was more important than a drunk girl driving home. No one knows the story until now, and you'd think that I would have changed that day, but I didn't. The pattern that I'd gotten myself into didn't happen overnight, and it didn't change overnight. I just felt really stagnant, distant from God, just had no real joy in my life. So somehow or other I found myself alone on a cruise ship. I was reading a book my mom had given me called Authentic Beauty, and it just really opened up my eyes and my heart to the type of intimate relationship that I could have with God. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. This verse really stuck out to me because I had never thought about it in a sense that I have to be seeking God for this to be true. I could just keep doing the same sinful things I was doing, hoping that something would happen or, good things would happen, but they wouldn't. There's a verse that I've really clung to, and I really love it because it so perfectly describes the journey that I've been through. And now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start all over again. I'm taking her back out to the wilderness where we had our first date, and I'll court her. I'll give her bouquets of roses. I'll turn Heartbreak Valley into acres of hope. She'll respond like she did as a young girl. I'll wash her mouth out with soap, get rid of all the dirty false God names, not so much as a whisper of those names again. I'll have mercy on her and say to her, you are my dear somebody. In time, she'll come back.
Matthew 6:25 and 27. Do not worry about your life. Can any one of you gain one single hour by worrying? Those are some really good words to live by and a great truth to believe. But there was a time in my life about 5 or 6 years ago that I was living far from that truth. You see, my struggles started small, or so it seemed. I started experiencing some difficulty in relationships that were really dear to me. My marriage was hurting and in trouble, and my daughter, who was 15 or 16 at the time, we were fighting continuously, just arguing all the time and hurting each other with words that we really didn't mean. And I just felt like I was losing control. Everything around me seemed to be spinning out of control, and I didn't like what was happening until I found something that I was good at controlling. I started becoming just really focused on what I put in my body, or I guess I should say what I didn't put in my body. I got really good at controlling what I ate, and I was in really bad shape, maybe about 90 pounds. But God is so faithful, even when we're not. And I'm so thankful that He used people in my life, like my sisters and friends, and even my 8-year-old son at the time, who stood by my bed, begging me to get up and be his mom again. And it was at that point that my heart was truly broken. And it wasn't until then that God could begin to work in my life. And He did some wonderful things and allowed me to see the sin in my life, the sin of control. The greatest thing that He ever did for me at that time was to teach me that letting go of that control would be the best decision that I ever made. And so that's what I began doing. And I sit here today, 6 years later, still recovering from depression, anxiety, and worry. And I know that without God, those things would not be possible. I would still be holding on to those things.
I've had some hardships in my life. It's sort of hard to admit, but I've experienced loneliness. I've experienced rejection. At the age of 13, my precious mama was diagnosed with cancer. She was in the hospital for so many years. At age 15, my mama went to be with the Lord. I was an only child. I spent many afternoons all by myself. 6 months after my mom passed away, my precious daddy remarried. He married a woman from another town. She had 3 children. I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have brothers and sisters, and this is just going to be wonderful. Little did I know that I would become an outsider in my own home. I was totally and completely rejected. I would say, Lord, I'm so lonely. Would you speak to me? Would you speak back to me? God drew himself to me. I began to get into his word. I discovered that he had been rejected. He understood my pain. He understood my hurt. Not only did he show me how he had been rejected, but he showed me how he loved me. It states in his word, he will never leave me nor forsake me. I took that to heart. And oh, how he began to fill my heart with love and joy. I used to be embarrassed to say that I was lonely and rejected. But you know, I speak now with joy in my heart because my Lord went through those things.
I felt really far from God, really distant, but God was never far from me.
I fully rely on his faithfulness.
I know that there's someone who is always with me, my God.